What's crazy to me is so many people feel like they are ready to buy that first home, but guess what? They hit a wall. The worst part is most of them don't even know what caused them to get stuck. Stick with me, and by the end of this video, not only are you going to know what's holding you back, but more importantly, we're going to know how to fix it. Let me tell you about some friends of mine, Scott and Sandy. They had an opportunity to buy what they kind of thought was their dream home. A lot of things came into this factor. They've been looking for a while, but guess what? Within 24 hours, that opportunity was gone because of a mistake that they made. I'm going to tell you about that in a second, but first we want to talk about the mistake you want to avoid. A mistake you want to avoid is not getting pre-approved, meaning even looking online, looking at these dream homes and using online calculators to try to get an idea of what you can afford. The reason being is to actually get pre-approved, it doesn't happen in 5 minutes. Just despite what people might tell you, it takes a little bit of time, especially if we're not sure what the full application is going to look like. And what holds people back in an application is they're afraid of having their credit pulled. That's a big deal. Well, in today's world, most of us are doing soft credit pulls, which means we can see exactly what's going on without affecting your credit score. I'm not saying every lender, but I know a lot of us can do that. I for sure can do that. So that's one thing to maybe kind of settle you down a little bit. It's a soft credit pull, not that big of a deal. The next thing though that I notice in my business when I'm trying to help people get pre-approved is I need certain things to give a good pre-approval. If we really want to know what numbers that we're working with, we're going to need to see your income. So pay stubs, W-2s, maybe you get some Social Security or some child support. All those types of things really matter when we're trying to get someone pre-approved. We also want to know, what do you have for a down payment? And if you don't have a down payment, what options do we have for down payment assistance, and how does that affect your budget and your pre-approval? So this step is the very biggest, most important step that you need to take and not get stopped by just turning in some W-2s and some pay stubs, because we got to see that if we really want to know what your budget is. We need to know that ahead of time so that you know what houses to look at. So you're not wasting your time or the time of a real estate agent's or a seller's time for having to leave the house so you can go and look at it. And that's kind of what happened to Scott and Sandy. They found this house. Guess what? Oh, we'll apply with you when we get to it, John. Well, they never did. They never applied with me, and by the time they did, it was a Saturday night, and I had no warning. So I wasn't even by my computer. The house got sold. They got an accepted offer the very next day. So they missed out on getting this house because they wouldn't do a simple pre-approval and not even worry about having their credit pulled. Hey, quick heads up, I am licensed in 49 states. So if you have questions, you can drop a comment. My website is in the description. So if you want to call, text, or email, just to have a friendly voice, no sales pitch, I'm available. Do you think you need 20% to buy a house? Or what I've noticed a lot here over the last probably year and a half, if it's not 20%, are you thinking you need like $20,000 to buy a house? And the reason why I use those figures is because they did a survey or a poll of millennials, and 60% of them felt they needed 15 or 20% down to buy a house, and that's just not the facts. A lot of people, maybe you included, feel like you need this huge down payment to buy this house, and that's what's keeping you stuck in a rental for longer than what you really need. Now, depending on your income and your credit can depend on the type of program that we use. But a couple of programs real quick. Home Ready, Home Possible, they're both conventional. It's a 3% down payment. FHA is 3.5%. And if you don't qualify for Home Ready, Home Possible, and you want to do conventional, it's 5% down. Numbers wise, let's say if you're buying a $300,000 house, you could be looking at $9,000 down. You could be looking at $10,500 down, or you could be looking at $15,000 down if you're in that conventional 5% program. Not only that, there could be down payment assistance out there that could help you get to that dollar amount that you need to buy whatever you're trying to buy or want to buy. This all reminds me of when I bought my first house. I was 23. Of course, I knew everything. And then boom, justice was served. I wasn't thinking of some expenses that might happen. And I tell you what, I learned a lesson from that. I got 2 lessons on that. Some things for you to think about, and then a solution and an expense or an investment you might not be thinking about. So the thing that happened to me is my water heater went out. I think it was within 3 or 4 months of us living there. Luckily for me, I had a buddy that could install them. So I paid for the water heater and a case of beer. So it was $1,000, and it was $1,000 I wasn't planning on spending. Other things that added up as we started moving into this house was, well, moving boxes, renting the moving truck, those types of things. And then I forgot, well, we got furnace filters that we got to change every month or maybe every couple months, right? Different types of small maintenance, or also thinking we want to make changes to this house. You're probably not going to use the cheapest paint out there. How much paint do you need? All those supplies. You want to do it right. Maybe you're redoing a floor. What kind of money is all this looking like? Not to mention, if you're questioning maybe how good are some of the utilities in this house. Hopefully you had a private home inspection so you have a good idea. But you could look at buying a home warranty. I'll put a link into the one I use. I don't make any money off of them, so I'm not going to say who they are. But I've purchased several home warranties for myself. My kids have them that own homes. And these things really pay off, or at least they have for me. We've gotten new furnace, new AC, new dishwasher, new clothes washer, new stove, new garage door opener. It's been several things over the last years, but how that home warranty works, it's a $100 deductible, and the guy comes out. If you can't fix it, you get new stuff. So it's pretty cool that way. Each plans are a little bit different, but it's about $1,500, $2,000 right in there. Link in the description. It reminds me of another story that relates to this video. My buddy Chris, which my people turn into my friends a lot of times. It just kind of happens. It's weird. But Chris, when him and his wife bought their house, like they thought they found the dream house, and it kind of turned out to be a little bit of a nightmare. I'm going to tell you what that is in a second, but here's a tip or a hint. It had nothing to do with the house at all. Location is something that is overlooked a lot. Most times people get really honed in on, we just need to be by the schools. We need the good schools. Good schools, good schools, good schools. Nothing wrong with that. Totally get that. You want your kids to go to good schools. However, have you really looked at other schools of what might be a substitute, or do you even have kids? Here's why. A couple things. One is location is extremely important. Are you by shopping? Are you by the freeways if you have to commute to work? How close are you to schools? What does the neighborhood that you're buying in actually look like? I bring this up because that first home, whether you like it or not, you're only going to be there for 5 to 7 years, and then you're going to move up. You're going to buy something bigger and better. So keeping that in mind, maybe your kids aren't in school yet. Not yet. Maybe you don't even have kids yet. But if you do have kids and you're looking at this, also look at maybe some other areas, because what can happen is exactly what happened to Chris and his wife. They bought in a nice neighborhood, a vinyl village, got in there, and the neighbors, pretty much a nightmare. Awful. Now we know we can't control our neighbors, but what they didn't realize is they moved into a single family house, but the neighborhood had an association, which isn't that uncommon, but at the same time isn't very common. It's not a monthly fee in his neighborhood, but it's an association with an annual fee, and they make sure your grass is cut, you're not parking trailers on your lawn or boats or any of that stuff, because they want to keep values up for the neighborhood. Totally get that. But his location was awful, because as you leave that development, that vinyl village, went onto a busy road. He had to make a left, which was impossible. So location, you really need to pay attention to, not only are we in the district where we have schools, but what does this look like getting to school? What does this look like getting to maybe dance or hockey or whatever sports your kids might be in? What does all this really look like? These mistakes that people make, now you have a better idea about them, right? So you want to be thinking about this stuff as you move forward with your home buying process so you don't get stuck, you don't hit a wall, you really know what you're looking at. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. Like I said, I can help you from not New York, but from the East Coast to the West Coast and anywhere in between.